random person, whether adult, teen, or elderly, what government agency needs more funding, you might get answers like Medicare, Homeland Security, or education. One you won't hear from the popularity of the people's infrastructure, specifically transportation. As seen from these past year's presidential debates, transportation infrastructure was brought up a whopping 0 times. To now asking for a substantial increase of investment from the federal government just seems unheard of. Good morning, judges and classmates. My partner, Mr. Crawford, and I will be debating for the negative side, and firmly believe that the status quo involvement from the federal government with transportation infrastructure is fine how it is, and that if anything, there should be more investment from the state and local governments and private corporations. The resolution, as previously stated by the affirmative, is resolved that the United States federal government should substantially increase its transportation infrastructure and investment in the United States. Transportation infrastructure being high-speed railways, mass transit, airports, seaports, inland waterways, and the obvious roads and highways. But as the affirmative stated, they're only focusing on the roads and highways, prioritizing. We as the negative also believe that in our current times, and having a huge national deficit, increasing funding to transportation infrastructure does not top the list of priorities that the federal government has. Currently, there are state and local governments that are funding their own transportation infrastructure. As Patrick Phillips, CEO of Urban Land Institute, a nonprofit research and education organization, points out, no one seems willing to have the hard conversation about where the federal funding to refurbish existing infrastructure, to expand current networks, to build new shiny systems will or should come from. The good news is that even the prospect of large new infusions of federal funding dims. Regions searching for infrastructure investment are not giving up. They are developing their own visions of the future and pursuing funding and implementation largely on their own. I think we can all agree that none of us or our parents want an increase of federal taxes. And with the debt in the trillions, it's hard to see where this money would come from, other than more taxes or more foreign loans. Jonathan Miller, research analysis at Urban Land Institute, points out that state and local governments are also stepping up efforts to engage private capital and partnerships to help ensure more cost-effective project design, construction, operations, and future maintenance. Even around Upper Dublin, roads are getting fixed and things are getting maintenance. Take 309, for example, or Ironwood Way, the street I live on. Both were either fixed or got a new pave job within the current times and with our current status quo. So there's absolutely no reason for the federal government to increase its money or time for this cause. Things are getting done. I hate to say this, but our government only drastically acts, or substantially acts, when multiple bad things happen. And in the news, you don't hear about a bridge collapsing every day, or even every month, or even every year. There's just no need for change, especially within the federal government. The affirmative brought up the problem of the derated bridges leading to deaths. However, I will continually state that the federal government should increase nothing because the states are doing so. Mayor Marisol Bello of USA Today states that a review that USA Today found that beefed up inspections since the collapse of a bridge led 16 states to close bridges, reduce weight limits, or make immediate repairs. All states inspected bridges designed like the one that fell, some including Arizona, Delaware, Louisiana, Maine, Minnesota, New Jersey, New York, and Tennessee. Conducted broader reviews to identify bridges needing the most work. South Carolina and Wisconsin are installing high-tech sensors that record the deterioration of a bridge, which inspectors can track on the internet. Arkansas is training assistant building inspectors to team with the bridge inspectors, so there are 2 sets of trained eyes at an inspection. So as you can see, the states are getting things done and are working together. Ms. Sun also brought up the traffic congestion. However, traffic congestion is a good thing. Waiting in traffic is not, I think we can all agree, but believe me, it is. Traffic congestion is now having more people telecommunicate and working from home, as according to the Urban Land Institute. However, also, no matter what the affirmative plans bring up, there will always be traffic. Our society is heavily dependent on the car, and I do not see us having a huge culture change where things become completely different. And all the construction projects that they have to fix these roads just leads to more and usually worse traffic. For increasing funding and time for mass transit is also illogical, because Gabriel Ross points out mass transit, which comprises less than 2% of U.S. urban travel miles, currently receives 20% of federal surface transportation funding, but transit projects should be funded locally, not by Washington. Why should farmers in Ohio finance mass transit services in Chicago? So there's just no need to increase it, maybe even decrease it. The status quo is working. The affirmative might not believe so, but to be frank, they're wrong. That is why Mr. Crawford and I, the negative, firmly believe that there is no reason why our federal government should substantially increase anything pertaining to transportation infrastructure. The government and its money right now are in shambles. To go up to President Obama right now with a proposition of considerable increase in money and time for transportation infrastructure would just be ridiculous. Our government has its priorities, and transportation infrastructure isn't even in the top 5. So I ask the judges to consider that when listening to my opponent's points and vote negative.